Yeah.
Probably the most charismatic fighter we've had. I mean, he never really had the career-defining fights against the top Americans in his career, but he certainly beat everything domestically. His fights against Nigel Benn in 1990 and 95, the 1991 especially, was a classic. But he was an enigma in terms of almost impossible to work out what he was going to come out with or what he was going to say. He was a one-off. And he became an enormous crowd favourite. Simply the best was his walk-on music, and everyone knew. I think people bought tickets. Initially, they bought tickets because they wanted to see him get beaten.
Yeah.
Towards the end of his career, the audience began to warm more to his charismatic style. He was certainly a major part of my boxing career, no doubt about it.
He used to say that sometimes boxers didn't get what they deserved, but he was a one-off who mugged the promoter for money.
Yeah, I mean, it was. So many times you look back on it now, and I remember once he fought Les Winooski on ITV at Brentwood Centre. It wasn't much of a fight, but we did okay. We sold a few tickets, we made a few pounds, and it was a good performance. And I said to him after the fight, "Tell you what, Chris, you've done well. Treat yourself. I'm treating you to a weekend in Paris. You and your wife, or you and your then girlfriend, go to Paris." I said, "I've booked a nice room for you in the Georges V. You'll fly business class. Have a weekend on me." And he came back after a longer than a weekend, about 6 days, and gave me a bill for just over £20,000. And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Well, the room you gave me wasn't the best suite, so I upgraded." He said, "You didn't provide any transport, Bazza, so I hired a white Rolls Royce and a black driver 24 hours a day, and I lived rather lavishly." I said, "It's impossible to spend £20,000. And he said, Mazza said, "You gave me the rope and I hung you." And he was such an amazing guy. I said, "Look," I said, "I'm not paying this. Shall we go 50-50?" And he went, "Yes, that's acceptable." So he only cost me 10 grand, but he was something special.
He was. Actually, he stayed at the George Sank, and I'm told that it was his wife's birthday, or his future wife's birthday, and he had £2,500 worth of flowers in the suite.
Yeah,
But
all down to me.
Yeah, but he was allergic to flowers and had them swept out.
Oh, right. Well,
And
listen, he was crazy, but he was valiant.
Yeah. Okay. Who would you say were the best boxers that you've been involved with in the matchroom? You've obviously got AJ and you've got Eubank. Was there anybody else that really hit the heights, do you think?
But I mean, there were lots of great fighters.
Yeah. Steve Collins
was with me. I mean, Michael Watson at the end. Yeah, there were some great fighters. Probably the best fighter I ever had was a Mexican called Jose Luis Lopez, who beat Eamon Loughran for the world welterweight title. I'd never seen anyone like him in the gym in my life, and people used to stop and watch him train. Unfortunately, he had a casual affair with drugs, which his career never really developed along. But when I tell you how good he was, Oscar De La Hoya wouldn't fight him. That's how good. And Oscar De La Hoya was in his peak. So he got a draw, I think, with Ike Quarter, who was the unbeaten Ghanaian, great fighter. And I paid him $100,000 for that fight. And he'd never seen $100,000. And he disappeared, and I never saw him again. So that was one that got away. But some great
Did
fights.
Tyson Fury get away? Because
Not really. No, Tyson
Eddie,
Fury.
Your son is saying that
Yeah,
he thought he was overweight. He was 28 stone or something.
There were two occasions with Tyson Fury, which I don't think Tyson actually recalls accurately, but I will recall it accurately with you. And as you know, when you get to my age, you only tell the truth, Gary, because you're too close to God.
I'm a little bit older, believe it or not.
Well, difficult to believe that looking as well as you do. The first time I ever met Tyson Fury, I think with his father, and Tyson was a massive, so you couldn't miss him. I think I was up in Newcastle doing a show, and this young amateur came along, and big guy, great name, wanted to know if I'd sign him, but they wanted £100,000 signing on fee, and in those days it was a lot of money. It's still a lot of money, and he hadn't really done enough to get on my radar, to be fair. And I said no. And I think Frank Warren gave him that money or whatever money he gave him, but he signed with Warren. And then, of course, so that was my only involvement. And purely on a financial basis, I didn't think he was worth it. I was probably wrong, but there was a decision I made at the time. And then, of course, subsequently, Eddie bumped into him in Monte Carlo a few years ago when he was going through one of his bad patches, and his weight had ballooned up to, I don't know, somewhere approaching 30 stone or something, some astronomical figure. And I think Eddie could have signed him then, but like me not wanting to take a chance with 100 grand because there was no pedigree, and Eddie looking at him and thinking, this guy's never going to get in condition. We were both wrong. And hats off to Tyson Fury.
And from your point of view, Eddie Hearn is now your son, of course, is now the leading light in matchroom boxing.
Well, he's the top boxing promoter by a country mile in the world, isn't he? I mean, who gets anywhere near him? To compare any other promoter to Eddie Hearn at the moment is like comparing the corner shop to Tesco.
Yeah.
So he's done unbelievably well. He is sensible. He's fair. He's honest. He has integrity. All the ticks that don't normally go with boxing promoters. I like to think I was slightly different, but Eddie's a different class. I mean, when we write the history on boxing, eventually, he's changed the face of professional boxing globally.
He's still very young, really, as well.
Well, he's 40 years old. But in boxing today, the pressure they're under,
Yes.
I don't know how long your shelf life is. People like us and Mickey Duff and Frank Warren, people like that, we've been going on for years and years. But actually, we've all been going on doing the same old, same old. We haven't really progressed the utilisation of commercial benefits and the digital market, the social media market. The whole world has changed. And boxing promoters, whether it's me or Aram, even Oscar, certainly Warren, people like that, we're all dinosaurs. And the young people today are using more, the social media, the people who actually go out there and find a new audience, where boxing has lost out on just sticking with its more traditional bases. We've become old fashioned, and UFC's come along and taken a new audience, which boxing's lost out on because it never moved with the times. Eddie's the first real promoter that's actually gone into that on a whole range of platforms and beginning, not finish the job, but beginning to change the whole perception of boxing.